What makes an action sequence exciting? Is it the death-defying stunts performed by world-class athletes? Is it the advancements in technology that are able to portray movement in ways we've never seen before? Or is it the planting and payoff of dramatic motifs that change the direction of their narrative? On some level, all of the above, as there are many ways in which an action sequence can thrill us. Set pieces are so vast in variety that there is no one way to make a sequence. But I do think that the set piece has principles. You know, rules and guidelines that one could follow to make an entertaining sequence. For me, that baseline has always been Steven Spielberg and George Lucas's Indiana Jones trilogy. While revisiting the trilogy, I was struck by how quaint the series felt while upholding it to modern standards. Yet, even while doing this analysis, I was on the edge of my seat while watching the series' many set pieces. It's clear that Spielberg endowed this series with a strong sense of focus, to the point where I can sum up the trilogy's effectiveness with one word. Danger is everywhere in the Indiana Jones series, from the cursed caverns to the greedy explorers, and the evil Nazis hot on his tail. Danger is sort of the glue that holds this series together, and it shines the brightest during the many thrilling set pieces. I think the first action beat of the series establishes this rather nicely.
Adios, señor.
Okay, so the setup. Indy needs to jump across this pit and climb up before this closing door traps him in a collapsing tomb. Seems easy, right? Well, not exactly, as the forces surrounding Indy rarely go his way. But the thing I want to focus on is this, the closing door. The closing door's function is what I call a steadily impending doom, a clear ticking clock that Spielberg injects in all of his action set pieces. Now, ticking clocks are everywhere, especially in tentpole action scenes, but here it takes the form of a vector, an object that has direction and magnitude. See, humans are really good at tracking vectors. It's how we're able to drive and perform so well in sports. The threat of the scene comes from this vector, and the magic of the scene stems from how Spielberg cheats its movement. Notice how the door seems to fall forever? Well, that's because Spielberg wants to extend this scene and give it more escalating obstacles. These 2 to 3 seconds where we can't see the door is where the audience is most on edge. Spielberg is always aware of where we're looking in the frame, and that how we watch an action sequence is the key to their effectiveness. Because of this, many of these sequences revolve around a single focal point, a basket or an antidote, or an ancient artifact. The purpose of these focal points is twofold. For one, it creates a singular vector to focus on, making the action easy to follow. Additionally, it makes it really easy to read how close our heroes are to victory, which may be my biggest problem with modern action films. So we've covered the elements inside these action sequences, but what's just as important is the geography. After all, what is action besides movement in space? We have to understand the space just as well as we understand the movement, so the same simplistic approach is applied. As you can see, most of the action is shot in wides, with the close-ups reserved for key moments. Clarity for Spielberg is key. On top of that, all of these arenas take the form of a clearly identifiable shape, like a straight line, or an open square, or a rotating circle. As I pointed out before, these arenas also hold the key to the sequence's sense of danger, as they are often the key obstacle or cause of escalation. The location of the fight is itself a challenge. These obstacles have to be connected to the action within the same frame, as they are all alterations on the steadily impending doom. The goons and environment cooperate to create a constantly escalating spectacle, often in a domino-like fashion. But where the environment provides problems, they also provide solutions, as it's how Indiana navigates the space that he manages to win the scene. It sort of follows the logic of a Roadrunner cartoon. We know Wile E. Coyote's device will fail. It's the when and how that make it so spectacular. This simplistic approach to shapes and vectors does work wonders, but where the series goes above and beyond is by establishing these threats earlier in the scene. The prologue to Raiders spends more than 3 minutes establishing the obstacles leading into the iconic escape. The shootout in Nepal centers around alcohol and fire, so the scene begins with a drinking contest. I'd also like to add that these aren't just throwaway scenes. They are key moments that give insight to the personality of these characters. Some of them are even the characters' most memorable moments.
There's a big snake in the plane, Jock!
And really, that's what's important, that all of these sequences are based in character. The best ones serve as punctuation marks for these character dynamics, and are crucial for their emotional journeys.
Let my armies be the rocks and the trees, and the birds in the sky.
And if you're not working on this, there ain't any editing tricks that are going to save you. The note I want to end on is this. Action filmmaking is a language, and thus is always evolving. In the last few years, we've been blessed by some truly spectacular set pieces, ones that could only be made with modern filmmaking techniques. But as we've learned all too well, technology does not guarantee excitement, as some of the most expensive action sequences ever made have also been some of the most boring.
Oh, shit.
This year, I'm sure you've seen far more kinetic and impressive sequences at the multiplex, ones that have pushed the limits of thousands of hard drives. But I'm willing to bet that you haven't seen anything quite as satisfying as this. This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Whether you need a domain, a website, or online store, make your next move with Squarespace. Now, Squarespace is all about accessibility. Whether it's transferring domains or their elegant designer templates, everything is made easy with their all-in-one platform. There's nothing to install, patch, or upgrade ever, and you can of course rely on their 24/7 award-winning customer service. To start your free trial today, go to squarespace.com/filmsandstuff and get 10% off your first purchase. Also remember to follow my Twitter, the absolute best place to know what's happening on the channel. I often like to reach out to my viewers and get feedback on what I'm making, whether it's ideas I'm having, ideas that you guys have for the channel, or most importantly, what you thought of my arguments. Also, in the comments, what's your favorite action scene of 2017? Mine would be the staircase fight in Atomic Blonde. Now, that was gnarly. Finally, if you want to support this channel, please consider donating $1 or $2 through my Patreon.